I've always loved rhythm games, even though I don't consider myself someone with a polished sense of rhythm. Rhythm is an interesting thing to put as a requisite for a game because I think the common perception is that you either have it or you don't. This can provide a significant barrier for a potential audience because not everyone will be confident in their sense of rhythm. But it's my belief that every skill can be learned, and games are the perfect environment to subconsciously polish that skill with little consequence. Soundfall is a game that attempts to marry rhythm mechanics with a top-down, dungeon-crawling, looter-shooter style that succeeds in executing rhythm mechanics, but falls a bit short as a looter-shooter. In Soundfall, you play as Melody, a young woman who loves music and is suddenly transported to the land of Symphonia. Upon landing in Symphonia, Melody encounters Legato, who informs the player that Symphonia is the realm where all music is created. You come to find that Melody is a guardian of harmony, a powerful musician and warrior that is brought to Symphonia to fight back against the Discordians, an evil force that seeks to corrupt and destroy Symphonia. Melody must set out to harmonize the various lands within the world to repel the Discordians and save Symphonia. Gameplay in Soundfall consists of moving in all four cardinal directions and attacking and dodging to the beat of a song. The world lives and breathes with the music being created, and as such, following the beat empowers Melody's abilities. Each mission in Soundfall has a song that dictates the rhythm you need to follow. Attacking and dodging on beat maintains your combo and results in the strongest form of each action. Dodging on beat makes you invulnerable for the dash duration, and attacking on beat maximizes the damage and effect of your weapons. There is a metronome at the bottom of the screen and visible on your character to help you find the beat if you get confused. It can be difficult to notice at first, but all of the enemy and character animations are also synced to the rhythm, adding another visual cue that can be used to find the beat. As you progress through the game, Melody discovers that there are other Guardians of Harmony that have similarly been pulled into Symphonia. You unlock these additional characters, and each have special attacks that provide a variation of gameplay and context for the optional multiplayer mode. In addition to unlocking more characters, you also gather gear and level up to increase your damage and health. Players are able to have two primary weapons equipped, called Beat Blasters, and can swap between them freely during a level. There's also armor that reduces damage taken and can increase the number of dashes you can perform, and special weapon and ultimate skills that are unique to each character. Items can be obtained from defeating enemies, finding chests hidden in missions, and a chest is always given as a reward at the end of a mission. As more of Symphonia becomes open, the player finds that there are various biomes with different genres of music, and different genres are more likely to drop equipment with specific types of enhancements. Each mission has a tiered medal system and a score that increases the amount of experience you gain when completing the mission. The medal system ranges from completing the level before the song loops as the lowest tier, and completing the level without losing your combo with all actions being on beat being the highest. This rating system and the gear you can obtain provide an incentive to replay levels or songs that you've already completed. There's also a free play mode that allows you to play any song in the game that you've unlocked, and you're able to import your own music as well. While these are all good ideas for a rhythm game, there were some pain points that arose as I played more Soundfall. The first is a bit obvious. Songs with higher BPM are much more difficult than songs with mid-range or slower BPM. The rhythm of the song controls everything, so at higher BPM, enemies move faster, attack more quickly, and projectiles travel faster. It also doesn't help that when the game introduces faster songs, it's in a zone that adds additional environmental hazards, which can be overwhelming during the first few encounters. Another pain point that came up was unlocking the next level of difficulty isn't communicated very well to the player, and automatically becomes the set difficulty. This can result in a seemingly unfair difficulty spike out of nowhere that can easily be missed if the player doesn't see that the difficulty was increased. Something else that became apparent as I played more Soundfall was that there's a limited variance in the combat. While there are different characters with different special weapons and ultimates, those end up being the only things that can provide meaningful changes to the gameplay experience. There are only about 3 to 4 types of weapons and just as few modifiers for the weapons that all end up feeling the same the longer you play the game. The few type modifiers on weapons provide additional effects such as applying slow, damage over time, or spreading damage among enemies, but there lacks an additional layer of complexity that can expand combat beyond just point and shoot. Mechanically, the design in combat has moments where it does feel well executed, and moments where it does not. In areas with brighter backgrounds, it became difficult to see attacks and elements of the user interface. Everything from projectiles and attack indicators to the metronome to help find the rhythm would occasionally get lost against the brighter backgrounds in my experience. Adding to potential frustration is that these brighter areas become available later in the game when difficulty increases with both faster BPM songs and unlocked difficulty levels. Combining these factors with new environmental hazards, it can become difficult to keep track of threats and stay on beat. I also became averse to using ultimates because some would leave you vulnerable to being hit and lose your combo. You could risk being rooted without invulnerability, or get hit at the end of an invincible move because the invincibility ends before you're able to act. Something else that caught me off guard a few times was that some songs have time changes that alter the rhythm. This isn't an issue as you become more familiar with the songs, but it can feel a little cheap to lose your combo because the song you haven't heard before suddenly changes BPM in the middle of combat. While these situations can be annoying, Soundfall overall is a very charming game. The writing in Soundfall is perfectly paced for the type of game that's being presented. Dialogue happens often enough that you get a clear image of the characters, but also infrequently enough that it never becomes annoying. The jokes land often, and dialogue never carries on for longer than necessary. At the heart of Soundfall, there are wonderful and relatable stories of growth and personal challenges that each character endures. There are also cinematics throughout the narrative that are wonderfully hand-drawn sequences, and I am a sucker for good animation. Soundfall is a solid rhythm game that is sadly brought down by some of the other mechanics. There is a good mix of enemy and environment variety, and good progression of difficulty that can keep the player's interest moving forward. Unfortunately, the weakest aspect is the combat, which doesn't have enough variety to avoid eventually feeling stale before the end of the game. If you absolutely love rhythm games, Soundfall is worth checking out, but if you're focused on finding your next loot grinder, it's probably a game to pass. Thanks for watching, take care, and remember, keep having fun.